In less than 3 weeks, the war has led to more than 2 million people fleeing their country in what the United Nations Refugee Agency has labelled the fastest growing refugee crisis in Europe since World War II. And so New Zealand is stepping up our assistance to those displaced by Russia's invasion. Last week, the government extended the visas of Ukrainians already in New Zealand for a year and fast-tracked those holding visas offshore to come here immediately. Today we're announcing the 2022 Special Ukraine Policy for wider family members of Ukrainians in New Zealand. This will mean that Ukrainian-born New Zealand citizens and residents here can sponsor and support family members to now come and shelter safely in New Zealand. Reflecting the likely desire of Ukrainians to return home when it's safe to do so, it is a 2-year visa that will allow applicants to work and their children to attend school here. It's estimated around 4,000 Ukrainians could be supported by this visa, making this our largest humanitarian visa policy. As the world reacts, unites and steps up its approach to stop this unjust war, we are too. This is a significant step to ensure New Zealand plays our part in the global effort to support Ukraine, while continuing to condemn Russia's unprovoked aggression on innocent people. Today we're also announcing a further $4 million in humanitarian support targeted at helping those who have fled, adding to our initial $2 million, which we made just under 3 weeks ago. $2 million will go to the United Nations Ukraine Humanitarian Fund, which works with UN agencies and NGOs to supply healthcare, food aid, clean water, shelter, and other humanitarian assistance to millions of people inside Ukraine. The further $2 million will go to the UN Refugee Agency to assist the millions of Ukrainians fleeing to neighbouring countries for safety.
The 2022 Special Ukraine Visa will be open for applicants for a year from today and allow the estimated 1,600 Ukrainian-born citizens and residents in New Zealand to sponsor parents, grandparents, adult siblings or adult children and their immediate family who are ordinarily resident in the Ukraine to shelter here in New Zealand safely. Eligible sponsors can now contact Immigration New Zealand, who will prioritise sponsorship requests and visa applications, and once visas are granted, visa holders will have 9 months to travel here. Given the situation on the ground, applications can be completed by sponsors here, and there will be a streamlined process for applications. They will need to declare that they meet health and character requirements, but documentation will not be required and no fees will be charged. Our Ukrainian community in New Zealand has asked us to help in sheltering their family members who have been forced to flee their homes due to Russia's unprovoked attack, and we have listened, and today's announcement will provide a pathway for their families' safety. The Immigration New Zealand website has the details around eligibility criteria and the application forms to start the process now, and I would urge the Ukrainian community to make use of that facility.
In terms of the warfare, how easy do you think it is going to be for people to be able to get out and, and get their family members out and get them back to New Zealand?
We're being really pragmatic. The usual documentation that we would require, we are not requiring. Of course, they, must still go through a process, but we're expediting it. We are acknowledging in the way that we're working through those steps that they are in a war and that the usual documentation just won't be available. We'll make it work regardless.